In this episode, I welcome back Matt and Peter, who help me understand how to fight when the odds are stacked against you and you are faced with multiple opponents with only your 2 or 3 action points. Welcome to the Mythras Matters Podcast, Season 1, Episode 82. 6 against 1 is easier than it seems. Hello and welcome to Mythras Matters, a podcast dedicated to the Mythras rule set and all its supplements. As always, I'm your host, Inwils, and welcome to June. One of the reasons I enjoy hosting Mythras Matters, and there are many, is that I get to have chats with experts who can explain and explore different rules in Mythras. Combat can be simple to implement and run, but as the combat situations develop or players become more creative or inventive with their actions, you find yourself digging ever deeper into the rules, analysing the specific words that are used, and finding a way to allow players to implement their combat goals while maintaining combat balance in your campaign. One aspect of combat which I always struggle with as a GM is when the odds are stacked against the characters. I am more than happy to have only one monster and all the players to be hacking and blasting away at it. But when the balance is reversed and a single character is facing up against 2 or more opponents, then I get the feeling that the character will eventually be overpowered or take so much damage that they will be out of action very quickly. So to explore this situation further, I roped in my 2 combat experts, Matt and Peter, to tutor me in how to stay alive when I have multiple opponents attacking on me. Strap yourself in, everyone. This is going to be a long and involved chat. I'll let the combat experts introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Matt Eager from Old Bones Publishing. I'm Matt E on the Discord, and that's pretty much the only place you can find me. I don't have much of a social media profile, but if you want to find Old Bones products, you go to drivethroughrpg.com.
Yeah, and Peter, go for it.
Hey, my name's Peter. I'm under the handle Hazaf on the Discord and probably other places. Discord is the only place I'm frequently on, but I think I'm Hazaf on Reddit and the Design Mechanism forums as well.
The wonderful world of Reddit. I tried to avoid that place. So you are both now labelled my combat gurus. I hope you realise this. And I think it's really good because we got a series of combat segments all planned out. And today, I really want to talk about the most popular requested video I have. And that's when we have single opponents, single players attacking or defending against multiple mobs. Okay, so one person, lots of people coming in, and how does that actually work? And is it effective? Is it not? So one of the things that people always are concerned about is the number of action points, the action point economy. So let's start there. And Matt, do you want to kick us off about multiple mobs and action points?
Sure. This is one of the ways in which a system like Mythras that accounts for individual actions and offers a lot of decision making can be really satisfying compared to, say, a class where your defense is abstracted to like an armor class rating and people are only ever rolling to, attack you, right? And you never roll for defense. So we frequently talk about the action point economy. That's a term that you won't find in the core rulebook, but it is kind of evolved organically on the Discord, right? And the idea is action points are like currency, and in a fight, one side may have more than the other to spend. Each combatant will usually have 2 or 3 action points in real life. Sometimes you'll get someone who has more, which is bad, but the point being some simple arithmetic to see which side has more action points to spend will usually point to which side has a serious advantage. Because when you can't spend any more action points defending yourself, it means if your opponent spends to attack you and you get an automatic failure according to the rules, that you will they will automatically get special effects on you. And as we have discussed before, what ends fights in Mythras is special effects. It's usually not running out of hit points. So if you're getting uncontested special effects on you because your opponents are whacking you and you can't do anything about it because you ran out of action points, that means that soon you're probably going to go down. And that means that you have been outspent to death in the action point economy. So to speak.
Yeah, I can see that, because if I'm faced with, say, 3 opponents and I've only got 2 action points, I can, because evade takes up an action point as well, and unless you have the daredevil trait, you're going to be prone in any case. But I can almost like parry or evade against 2 of them, but then the third one's just going to get a free hit on me. Is that what's going to happen?
They'll get a free attack. They might miss you. You might get lucky. But yeah, if they attack you and you don't have an AP to spend in defense, that means that you get automatic failure. Or if you choose not to spend an action point in defense, sometimes opponents will do that also. When you have a 3-on-2 situation, even if they all only have 2 hit points each and your side with 2 has 3 hit points each, you're even. So that's one thing. But,
action
let's
points.
say action points.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
AP.
not hit points. I got
But yeah, usually pretend everybody has, on average, the same number of action points, maybe 2, maybe 3, whatever. But so if you have one side with even one more actor on it, 3 versus 2, or even like 6 versus 5, you'll have some extra leftover action points that are going to be useful to put somebody down when they can't do anything about it. There are tricks for dealing with this, and I guess we'll talk about them soon.
Peter, anything to add about action point economy?
Yeah, I think that's everything Matt's just said is true. I think it's quite a brutal and predictable threat there that you are presented when, like, if people can overwhelm you, they overwhelm you. But I do think that it is one of the things that the way your story evolves is usually not you're surrounded in a flat space, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where you would be, but a lot of the time you can shape the combat with, just talking with the GM, we're going to keep moving backwards down the small corridor or whatever, so they can't get around us, can't use their numbers, or we're going to hold the doorway, whatever the thing is, there are ways to start countering the imbalance,
right,
even before you roll dice and such,
right, usually. if you're clever about it. And again, this is the difference between maybe some other styles of play or whatever. Like suppose you're playing old school D&D or whatever, and you're a middle or high level character, and you have a good armor class, and you're confronted with 10 kobolds.
Yeah.
They basically can't hit you. I mean, they can try. They might roll a 20. Okay, fine. But in general, they won't be able to hit you, and you don't have to do anything except have that high armor class. Essentially, you get as many defense rolls as you need, versus no matter how many opponents attack you. And so you might just stand there and laugh at them and cut them down one by one, or do half of them and then the other half run away or something. But in that sense, it's kind of unrealistic, I would say. Why on earth wouldn't all those guys just grapple you and drag you down? And then that would be it. Their friends could stick daggers in all the gaps in your armor, and that would be the end of the game for you. That's the kind of stuff you can actually do in Mythras, and it's much more brutal and realistic. Yeah.
Do you think having a combat skill above 100% actually helps against multiple opponents? Do they, and I think I'm right in this, if I've got 127, we both subtract 27 from our rolls.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I'm not defending, i.e. I've got no more action points left, does that person still have that minus 27 to their roll? Or are they, or is that negated because I don't have any action points left?
Peter, you go first this time.
Sorry, this is not on the Google Doc, but it just came to me.
Yeah, so run out of AP but have 127 skill.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say no, they're out. They're out of action points. They can't do that because there is a sidebar note, isn't there, that says, because if I have 127 and you attack me, you lose 27 skills, so then you miss. So then I don't parry. Next and next and next. Potentially I don't need to spend anything to keep making you miss, which they say you should avoid that. So if you want to penalize their attack skill, you have to pre-commit in a way that you don't normally. Yeah, in a more balanced combat, then you're not required to commit defensive actions until you find out if you've been hit or missed.
Right.
But they say if you want to apply that penalty, you have to pre-commit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. On page 95, the sidebar is retroactive parrying with a skill over 100%. Yeah, it is a known problem corner of the rules, and so they call it out and address it directly in that sidebar there. Yeah, you have to. You basically have to say, "I'm gonna parry" if you want to take advantage of that 27% penalty to your opponent.
Yeah.
Which means it won't help you if you're in a position where you have no more action points to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which also seems like that's very cinematic, isn't it? The great hero getting stabbed in the back or something by the 11th enemy.
Yeah. Very good.
So my big question, and this is coming to you, Peter, why would I ever forego parrying or evading? Why would I ever sort of say, oh God, just hit me and possibly get a a special?
Well, the two that spring to mind, like one, you're covered in thick armor. So if you're a flanking knight walking down a bunch of peasants with, I don't know, quarterstaves or
Grain
spades
flails
or something. Yeah.
Pitchforks.
Yeah, if you think that they just cannot pierce your armor ordinarily, and you have good endurance, whatever, to resist any special they might try to apply to you, then you can just let them have at it. And you save all your attacks for killing blows that will be harder for them to deal with. So that's one. I don't like that because every time I'm on the other side of that, I would be press advantage then, or trip, like depending on what roll I got on the dice. If it's easy to resist, press advantage, so you steal their next attack. Or if it's a good roll, then something like trip, disarm, or grapple maybe. Yeah, something that will punish them despite not being able to get through their armor.
Yeah.
So I don't love that method, but depending on what you are facing, then that can work very well for people in that situation. And then the other one is, if you think that they can't hit you, or probably like if they miss you, then say you've got one attack or one action left, you might think, oh, well, I can punish this miss with a defensive special, or I could wait and attack back thinking they're not very capable, so maybe they're out of action points now, so I'll get a free hit afterwards, or they're not that competent, so they probably won't parry when I hit them. So those are the two main things I would think of.
I often forget about defensive specials altogether, but they can be very effective. You know, that even when somebody's missed someone, to get that, be able to parry it and get that special to disarm or something like that.
Yeah. And certainly to undo tactical disadvantages, they're holding you at long range,
right,
close range, or they're keeping you at short range, get back to long range, all of those kinds of things, or arise if you're on the floor. You're like, there's a lot of things that otherwise you might have to do some risky contest against your enemy, but you get a defensive special and you can just take it.
Yeah.
There is there's a trick about press advantage, though. I just wanted to point out. And I think you know this already, but I'll just say, let's see, it is only effective against foes concerned with defending themselves. So in the example of the knight who is letting them have at him and not spending on defense, I think you can argue that you can't use press advantage on that person.
But actually, though, as well, I slightly misspoke. Press advantage is offensive, isn't it?
Right.
And
well, if you're in the mob.
Overextend would be the defensive option, which they don't care about whether you want to defend. That's more about like taking your balance or momentum or something like that, isn't it?
Right. Yeah,
and
agreed.
On the attack, you can't. Yeah, someone who doesn't care that you're hitting them can't be pressed in that way.
Yeah. And that goes back to the combat being a lot more than just combat, if that makes sense. There's a lot of consideration to how the person's fighting, what their motives are, etc., etc. Matt, anything to add about, allowing somebody to just hit you?
Well, there are a number of things to do. We were talking a little beforehand. The outmaneuver action is really good. If it looks like you're about to be bum rushed by a whole group of people and you have room to maneuver, then outmaneuvering is the way to go. So sorry, I'm scrolling the wrong way in my document here. So you make one roll of evade, and anyone who wants to attack you that round needs to make an opposed roll of evade with you, and anyone who fails that means they can't attack you that round. They have to spend their actions doing something else because you're bobbing and weaving and moving around there. So that's really good. That means if you have a good evade, you can successfully avoid everybody for the whole round with one action point. If you're allowed to use outmaneuver.
So the people who are, so if sort of like 6 mobs are coming towards me and I'm allowed to use the outmaneuver, everybody needs to spend an action point and roll. And then if I'm the winner of the opposed roll, then if they've lost, they can't attack me. I think it's a round, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not the turn. It's for the rest of that round. Right. So are they considered to be in combat with me, i.e. they then have to disengage, or are they not even considered to be in combat with me?
That's an excellent question. This is slightly contentious. I think
it's like movement in combat.
Yeah, not that contentious. I think the answer is they are technically not engaged with you. The reason that they can't attack you after failing that evade roll is because they have failed to position themselves in such a way that they can engage you in the round. That's the way I would say it. And so there's this funny turn of phrase in the text, though, on page 104. It says, outmaneuvering requires that the character has room to move about and is not pinned in a confining area. It also assumes that the character is engaged with the entire group of foes rather than a specific individual.
Oh, right.
So that's a completely different use of the concept of engagement than we've ever seen anywhere else in the book. And it confuses me, frankly. So I think what it means is you can't use outmaneuver when you are engaged with a specific individual in the usual sense, right? If you're engaged with somebody, which means in this case, they can strike you and they're interested in doing it, then you can't use outmaneuver. Now, Peter can argue with me on this point, but that's my crude reading of it. And I also would not have written the character is engaged with the entire group of foes because that really does lead to a whole bunch of other questions. I would say the character is not engaged with anyone in the group of foes and wants to keep it that way. That's the way I would say it. Like outmaneuvering is what you do instead of engaging them. You see? That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
That's it, Peter.
The way I see it when I am using it, I think a bit more aggressively than that. Like, you know, if you think about like a kung fu movie or something where the hero is, just steamrolling through people, but, you know, beat up Mook 1, throw them into Mooks 2 and 3, beat up Mook 4, come back for 2 and 3. Like, I think it's in that situation, I think you are outmaneuvering them, whether by just running out of the way and dodging, or by the ways that you fight the one you do engage with. But yeah, it's definitely, there's grey areas to it as well. Like if they can't attack you for the rest of this round, like, you know, that opens up some strangeness, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, it's like, what does it mean to be engaged, right?
Yeah.
If you are disallowed from attacking someone, right?
Yeah. And can they like just move off like a shoal of fish and attack people that aren't, you know?
Yeah.
Which I would say that they can, but I would think that there would be some penalty for that because they, you know, they left that potential target, came for this one. But yeah, like assuming they have enough action points and weren't traveling too fast or something, I would think, like turn back.
I would say that from my point of view as a GM, I would let those people disengage freely. Like not have to use the change range or withdraw or anything like that. It's just
sure.
if you chose to use outmaneuver, it means that there's enough separation that for this purpose they don't have to worry about you disengaging from them.
Completely agree with that, but it's more about the kind of role playing of them. Like it seems unlikely that we're like, get this one, get this one. You know, like they just immediately turn away, like they've seen the odds change. Like I think that there would be some level of pursuit before they give up on the outmaneuverer.
I agree. I think you're right. It would be really weird for them to all of a sudden just
very
move
video
off.
Gamey. Right. You moved out of aggro and now
I've always pictured this in the classic fight scenes when there's one person in the middle of a ring of people and they're all going to attack, but if you watch any movie, they don't just all pile on the person.
They wait patiently.
But one might charge in and the person might somehow step out the way and defend against another one. And that's almost how I thought outmaneuver worked. It's almost like an heroic stance that, these people can't attack, so they're just waiting patiently, which technically doesn't sound right, but cinematically it sounds perfect to me.
Yeah. I think it's not too far off because there's this other line that I didn't read on page 104 that says, outmaneuvering works by constantly shifting position, forcing some foes to start running around the flanks of their companions to reestablish reach or lines of attack, generally causing them to interfere with one another. So it's using the mob's size and chaos against itself. Yeah. So that fits with what you just said and described, I think. And with what Peter said before, too.
Can anything use outmaneuver? Because we were talking before about, I didn't realize this was a thing, the famous example of the Tyrannosaurus, but this idea of, did you know that, Peter?
No,
what? Matt was explaining it to me, and almost like saying, if you have a big opponent that's got good armor and it's huge, it doesn't really need to bother about defending, if that makes sense, because you're not going to get through the armor, or the size difference means it's not going to have damage that's actually done to it. But I was wondering, if I'm the Tyrannosaurus, can that use outmaneuver, or is it something that only players or bandits or humans or humanoids can use? That's not in the Google Doc, was it?
You want to go, Matt?
Sure. I think that in general, it should be reserved for sapient opponents who can really think and plan. Predators think and plan, but they usually have a particular repertoire that they stick to, like, a pack of wolves or a Tyrannosaurus, just bite everything as fast as it can. I think that there are some prey animals that might be able to use outmaneuver. Like, think about a rabbit. Have you ever seen a rabbit out in the yard where you try to catch it or whatever? Rabbits know how to outmaneuver, definitely. So I would use a little bit of judgment on that as a game master. But I think that you could make a cogent argument that most non-sapient opponents will not be able to use outmaneuver.
Got you.
I would more or less agree with that, but I think the kind of non-sapient creature that is coming for you is probably not trying to use that. Like, your Tyrannosaurus isn't thinking about, I'm going to make him miss and then I'll make him pay for his. But a cat, even some like semi-large cats can be like quite, you don't want to mix up your words, but quite thoughtful and strategic about how they go. They're not just like using their speed like a cheetah or something. They might like go for you, or like, I don't know about wolves, but some pack dogs do this, don't they? Like, I'm going to attack you and then I veer off. And so you exhaust yourself, like coming for these things. So I think, like there is an argument that some of these kinds of fainting, non-sapient creatures are capable of it. Yeah.
Right. So I guess, we could refine the description to be, is outmaneuver is something you use in defense. And so the question is, does this animal ever think of itself being defending? And I think the T-Rex never does, because all it does is attack and eat. I think the rabbit always thinks of itself as in defense, right? And the cat may or may not. If the cat is being mobbed by people who want to scoop it up and trim its nails, the cat will use outmaneuver for sure. I agree. If the cat is chasing a mouse and it thinks of itself as, in with the upper hand or in attack mode or whatever, I think the cat will not think about outmaneuver, even if there were 100 mice. Because the mice are not actually going to attack the cat, probably. You could invent some edge cases with rats instead of cats, I guess. But
it sounds as if outmaneuver, when you're faced with multiple opponents, it's a good thing purely because of what you get for that one action point. That's why I was thinking about it, because that's a very efficient efficient spend in the action point economy. So we've mentioned press advantage. What's overextend? Because we've talked
essentially
about
the same one but defensive. So if I score a defensive special effect, I can choose overextend, and therefore you don't get your next attack.
Nice.
You have to spend your action point on something else, not attacking.
And you don't get to resist that. So if I roll an 11 but I get the special effect, then that's what I'll do, because if I try to trip you up, you'll beat my 11. But so that's how I'm always thinking. Is my roll good? Then I'll do something that you have to resist, and I'll get a better benefit. But if my roll is poor, then something that you can't stop is what I will go for.
Excellent tactics. Yes.
And I just read in the overextend is stackable.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does that mean you can do it multiple times on the same opponent or on different opponents?
Either one, I think.
Either one.
So you could get to a point that somebody's not actually, because you would have to use your action points to gain that, won't you?
But imagine getting a hiding from two different people. You could see that, right? Like they tie you up, pull your jacket over your arms, pull your cloak over your head, like all sorts of schoolyardy type stuff that you were flailing around trying to get out of that before you can think about actually hurting them back.
Let me walk that back a little bit. If I think stacking overextend refers to the same opponent because it refers to a particular attack that came from someone. So if you're going to overextend someone who made an attack roll against you, that is tied to a specific person. So I think that stacking overextend only works for the person who is involved in that.
You can't apply it to someone else.
You can't hold one and then apply it to a different opponent. But
you could. I would have thought if somebody lunges at me poorly and I overextend him, but he swings at you because he's drunk or something, you overextend him again. Like, we could be
legal.
stacking these on top of him, although in that situation he would have had to have passed his to have a go at you. But it's like there's potentially...
So, go for it, yeah. I was just... Overextend is a defensive special then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, like, if you fumble at me and I crit back at you, I could just lay 3 on you now.
Right.
Yeah. Because I was thinking that person is no longer attacking me for X amount of turns.
Yeah.
I think that what you just said, Peter, makes more sense, that I have 3 combat specials, so I can triple use overextend.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's it. They're not hitting me for a while, you know, and that's it. We talked a lot about this in episode 21, Matt, but there is this idea of passive blocking that must help against multiple opponents.
Yeah. Passive blocking is great for multiple opponents as long as they, land the blow on the spot that you're blocking. So you better have a big shield or trust to your luck. That's fine. But passive blocking is just like parrying, except you don't have to spend action points on it.
Yeah.
So if they have little weapons and you have a big shield, which covers a lot of locations and has a big size and therefore will parry their little weapon damage entirely, passive blocking is an awesome option to avoid getting mobbed. And you can think about it. Just think about your Roman legionnaire with a huge shield, right? A huge scutum. And, they've got 3 guys trying to get on them with daggers, but that's not going to work. And meanwhile, they can spend all their action points on attacking to try to, get those opponents to stop attacking them.
Yeah.
For example.
And is it something that is classed as cover? So you can't
that's
bypass.
Well, there are some people who prefer it that way, that it's cover, like almost extra armor on the places that you are passive parrying, but that's not raw.
Exactly.
But it is quite popular. I know quite a few people who are wise in the ways of Mythras who do that. But I don't.
Right.
I don't use it that way.
The rules for cover, the rules for passive blocking, and the rules for armor don't all jibe. And so, you have to make some decisions about how you want that to work in your game. It can work as written in the book, but you just have to think a little carefully about it. And the way it's written in the book is that passive blocking works like parrying, except that you don't spend action points on it, and you don't get to apply the parry if the weapon lands on a place you didn't cover. Yeah, that's the idea.
So it seems that so far I'm there with loads of people coming in to attacking me. First of all, having good armor, protection will help, because although they might get specials on me, they would have to do damage to do some of them, don't they? And if not, my armor will protect me. There's also outmaneuver that can actually delay or prevent opponents hitting me with a very effective use of an action point for the opposed evade rule. We've also got defensive combat specials like overextend, that we can actually, even though they miss me, I could actually use an action point. And I think I quite like this, to overextend them. So I'm not going to get hit in the future, which sounds brilliant. And then we've also got this idea of passive blocking. So it might be that if you've got limited action points, you're just going to trust to your and your shield. And as well as all that, if you're lightly armored, think about the situation.
Yeah, I think the situation first and foremost.
Yeah,
like make it so that these rules can't really be applied to punish you. Like,
right?
It's always better if you're fighting 10 guys to fight them where only one can fight you at a time. And if you can't do that by just saying how you approach this combat and role playing into it, then you would do that through outmaneuver or something, like start comparing dice and skills to get that kind of positional advantage. But yeah, another thing to think about with the passive parrying, especially with a well-armored person, is that there's a good chance that you force the choice of special, right? So like if I don't have passive parry and I'm full of armor and you hit me and I tank it, then I risk you tripping me up or something, or ripping me or something that makes me even more disadvantaged next round. If I'm passive parrying, say I've got 4 out of 7 locations covered with this largest shield, then you're torn now. But are you just going to hope for the 30% chance that you don't hit the shield with your roll, or are you going to have to spend it on choose location to avoid that, and then you don't have a special to beat my armor or inconvenience me? So heavily armored with a shield, passive parrying, you can just take a lot of liberties that way and just put it on them.
But the game is set up because of the encumbrance rules that not everybody can be clad out in full plate.
Yeah, and it's often not that popular among players or DMs to have that, like a knight full of armor and shield. It's kind of not unrealistic, but it's a weird situation most of the time when you're not on a battlefield for someone to be walking around in full armor with a shield.
Exactly.
What were they up to? Why were they there like that?
There's
maybe guards or something. The Royal Guard. Yeah, that makes sense. But otherwise, it's not super common for that to happen. I guess with the more trad fantasy and some of the fantasy race, like dwarves, quite often they have an affinity for heavy loads, and they don't leave home without their armor and their shield and their tent and their
everything else.
But
that's right.
Relatively rare.
Right. Relatively is a good word to use here. I think the question is what is your amount of armor versus the average damage that your opponent's weapon is going to be dealing you? That's what determines whether you're heavily armored or not. It doesn't have to be clanking plate mail. It could only be ring mail or whatever. 5 armor points. If they're attacking you with a dagger, 4 or 5 armor points is going to serve you well. That's fine.
Yeah.
So
and of course. Opponents that are creatures, lots of them have good sort of like chitin exoskeletons that are very, very protective. The rules talk about, I think it's rabbles and underlings. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So how do they work? Because I think some monsters also have this. It's like a swarm ability or something. Is that correct?
That's a different rule handling.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about that afterwards. Let's talk about the Mook rules first. Right. Yeah. So if you go to page 111 of the core rules, you'll see rules for rabble and underlings. And why do we even have these rules in the first place? If you're a GM and you've ever done a relatively big combat with 4 PCs and 4 or 5 or 6, 4 on 4 and up That's eight individuals to track, and that starts to become a thing. That's a relatively big deal, especially with hit points in locations and what special effects are they going to choose. And you can really bog down in combat unless you are at your best as a games master. So the book gives you some alternatives to this, which makes it a lot easier to track things for these inconsequential opponents, right? So, and the book even uses the word modeling, right? Which I find interesting, given my own background. This is not necessarily about tracking every detail, even though you know rules for tracking every detail. In some cases, it may be preferable to use your resources to do an approximation that still is fine, but doesn't track every detail, even though you know how, if you choose to. So yeah, modeling in the science world is a very big deal, and you have to choose an appropriate level, and that's what the rules for rabble and underlings are about.
And do they
Well,
work?
I would add to that, they're great for hero fantasy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the difference between outnumbered 3-1 with fully featured, fully durable opponents versus 3 rabble, you can probably expect to beat the 3 rabble, and it probably wouldn't survive 3 proper opponents.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, this is for your wushu moments.
Yes.
For sure.
I often think about the rabble rule of a very combat proficient character in an army going through the militia, or the untrained peasants, because they're literally swinging their sword and they're falling left, right, and or running away, as they go through. So is that how you use them, or is it more sort of like street urchins or something like that?
Yes, yes, and yes. You could use them for either one.
Yeah.
So let's actually look at what the rules say. On page 111, optional rules, rabble and underlings. Only use these optional rules when the characters are facing a ravening horde of inconsequential and expendable adversaries. Okay, so you get to decide. This is all role playing. So you don't even name these people. It's just like Mook 1, Mook 2.
Did they hear that?
So you get to decide what inconsequential and expendable mean as the games master, and that has a lot to do with the fiction of your game. So that's another thing that I like about these rules, is that they are explicitly considering the larger narrative portion of the game and what these opponents are meant to mean. That's how you decide whether they are inconsequential or not, whether they're significant or not. If this encounter isn't meant to, wipe out the party, even by accident, then, this is a way to probably accomplish that handily. Now it goes on to say competent NPCs and major villains should be treated differently. And that presumably means using the usual full rules for like you would use for PCs,
So when I'm if I decide to use rabble or underlings and the optional rules for that, and having multiple opponents, do rabble and underlings have action points, or do they not? Are they just sort of like there just to be cannon fodder, to be killed, or do they still have 2 action points and they can actually fight?
Yeah, they're I think they have the same number of action points as anybody else, and probably 2 if they're kind of average people, because average people have 2 action points per the rules. So rabble are the weaker form, and they are parameterized in this way. Hit points is 1/5 their con plus their size, and that number is typically like 5. They have little or no armor. They can't use special effects, and they quit when they get hurt, and they die easily.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to get rabble to stop being a problem. All you have to do is get in a good shot, and if you get in,
give up.
And they give up. That's the key. Yeah. So this is your mob of torch and pitchfork wielding villagers who normally are very meek and don't want to fight. And they find themselves in this situation where they're trying to drive away the problem. But if that problem turns around and tries to bite them, then they're not going to persist or whatever. They are not seasoned fighters. And again, that's tying them to the narrative. That's understanding what role they play in the scene. So I like that. Yeah. I like that option there. So that's rabble. Peter, anything about rabble?
Just that it always reminds me of the dwarves in the goblin caves in The Hobbit. Do you remember that when they are running away, they're trying to make their escape, and like soft tubes goblins are chasing them. There's tons of them. So every so often, Gandalf and Thorin will say, "Stop! We got to turn around," and they face them, and it describes them like falling over each other to like get away from being the front line when they realize they're facing this way now. But when they're facing the other way, they're quite happy to run up and try to trip them up, throw stones at them. But then like once they realize, oh God, they're trying to kill us, like they don't want anything to do with it. Right?
Yeah, they change their tune, don't they?
Yeah.
I really like the concept of rabble for archery shots, when you're in quite a big battle and the rabble comes in first, and there's this it just rains arrows and they're just dropping, and then that's it. You're not sort of like having to deal with special effects or anything like that. It's just like they've gone. And then that's it. I do worry somewhat with underlings when it says can use special effects. I'm sort of like worried, am I trying to do 20 underlings that are attacking here? So
the rabble are the most basic form of opponent, the dumbest down ones. And then there's full characters on the normal end of the spectrum where we usually think. And in between, there's one more grade. There's the underlings. So like rabble, they have just a general hit point pool. A hit point's a 1/5 con plus size, typically a number like 5. They can have modest armor. They can use special effects, although for game master sanity, you might prefer to say like they're always going to try to trip opponent, or they're always going to try to get a bleed, or they're always going to try to bash you with their maces, whatever they have. It may be dictated by their weapons, right, or their general tactics. And they are more persistent. They don't drop out the moment things go south for them, but they still die pretty easily. So they are this middle ground, and they're meant, like you would guess, they're meant to be able to give a challenge and make the PCs think twice about when and whether they want to actually disengage or run away. But they're still not as hard to track as full-on enemies, characters. And they're a nice in between case, I would say. They're what is it like? They're like the underboss, right? Okay, there's the mooks, the true mooks, the cannon fodder. Then there's like the little underboss guy, and then there's the real boss, who's probably a full character, who you're going to end up confronting at some point when the drama is higher, right?
So what sort of skill levels because I'm assuming rabbles are going to fight. They're not just sort of like stood there, you know.
Right.
What's the skill levels of these rabble and underlings? Because I was just thinking about using outmaneuver on them. You know, so I can sort of like choose how many is actually going to attack me. So do rabble and underlings actually have skill levels? And if they do, how do you play them? Do you want to go for Peter? Unless
so
you want
I would
Matt
say
to go.
I don't mind. I'm happy to take that one.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that whatever you need, like it's not impossible that you would want somebody who's very good but isn't meant to last long.
Right.
You know, and maybe that would be how you would want to model an ancient master who has super high skill but will collapse when you finally get a hit in on them. But really, I think that they are for the lower end of skill. Like I would look at the most important table in Mythras for it.
There you go.
And think, that probably the best of them are going to be in the competent range, like kind of 45 to 60 skill. But that's like really the best of the bunch. And the rest would be probably lower than that, like somewhere between base and base plus 10 skill. Like they're not really, they'd be more confident and durable if they did this a lot.
Right, exactly. Yeah, as we said, conceptually, what role are they filling in the narrative? They are not seasoned fighters. They are maybe in over their heads in this combat as they're about to discover. If base skill is like 21, what skills do you want to know? You want to know their combat style. You want to know their evade. You want to know their endurance. You want to know their willpower. And you want to know maybe their passions. Like if they're deathly afraid of their boss, they might stick around and fight a little bit longer. Or if they're deathly afraid of dying prematurely, they might bounce even sooner.
Rare passion.
Right. Or maybe it's defend village, right? So that might induce them to stick around one round more than they would normally. So skill levels, we should talk about the most important table in Mythras, which is not actually in Mythras.
Wasn't it in the companion? They adopted it for...
I don't remember if it's in the companion. I remember first seeing it in Monster Island is what I remember. And we talk about it so much on the Discord that I just have it in my head now, right? But if you're talking about Mook level people, their skill is probably not greater than 40 in any one of the things that I just mentioned, maybe 50. But it's probably down there. It might be 33, it might be 40, it might be 45. I don't know. You can decide. You could even give them one number that you felt encompassed all of these skills that I rattled off, except maybe the passions. But so they could be like rabble 40 or rabble 33 or rabble 50. Something like that. If you had to write something down on game night so that you didn't forget, right? So
I've got two more questions before we finish. I suggest we move swarm to when we're talking about pack animals and attack, because I think that fits in there nicely.
It's related.
But we want to talk briefly about Mythic Rome and what that has in there. But I just want, how do you cope with, imagine 6 people coming to attack my character and I've got like a ball and chain, a nice chain, and I'm whirling it round my head. Does that make sense? To try to keep people out of the way.
Right.
How does that work? So I'm trying not to let them get close to me to do damage.
That's interesting. I don't think there's a straight rule for that, but I think that if you went first in the initiative lineup and you used your attack, I think that I would let you spend that attack to instead of doing damage to any one person, and if you have the long weapon and you have them fighting at the longer reach, so to speak, I would let you use that attack to spend on press advantage.
Okay.
Against all of the opponents. You know, if you have a meteor hammer or a naginata or something that you're swinging around in a big arc and nobody wants to get whacked, and they're all fighting at the longer reach already, and they couldn't even touch you yet. They could only attack your weapon anyway unless someone had the guts to close on you. I think I might, as a GM, let you do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm usually quite like open for interpretation with the rules. So yeah, like it's while it's not the same intended or the same skills used, it's not far off outmaneuver, right?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. Whether or not it's actually outmaneuvering looking slightly different.
Yeah, so that I would be open to allow that. It's the same kind of idea, isn't it? You press advantage on all of them. They, if they can't get over the nerves of this thing that keeps coming round and they can't quite get the timing, then they can't attack you because, you've outmaneuvered them with a spinning ball and chain instead of tables and chairs or whatever.
So I think what we need is essentially a different proactive action that's not called out maneuver and that doesn't have you rolling evade.
Yes, definitely.
It has you rolling your combat style, right?
Or willpower or something.
Or against their willpower or something. And it insists that you fight at the longer reach. But very similarly to outmaneuver, it would let you spend one action point, and everyone who wants to be involved has to spend an action point too. And if they don't want to be involved, then straight up, they aren't allowed to attack you either, by the way. Yeah. So I think that would be a really good way to model it, but we need a new object. We need with a different name.
Yeah. There's also the nebulous intimidation, isn't there? Like there is a combat style that gives you a bonus to it, but there is no skill of intimidation, is there?
No, there's a creature trait.
There's a creature trait,
Right.
But that what you're describing with the ball and chain, especially to certain kinds of opponents,
like rabble.
Absolutely, that's intimidating, right? That's
right.
One of you is going to die. I don't want it to be me. So who's going to try to get this guy? And then I'm glad to jump in after you've caught his ball and chain, but I'm not going to be the one to catch it.
Exactly. Someone else is going to have to put the bell on the cat.
I like that idea of rather than it being evade, have it combat style against willpower. I think that really fits nicely.
That fits the intimidation aspect. That's very good.
Yeah. So,
I think that's how I would handle that. It hasn't come up so many times that I have written a homebrew rule for it, but I would on the fly think effectively this is an outmaneuver level power, and it's going to be something like willpower versus combat style, or your magical skill. If it's your fire comes out of your hands and I know that it's deadly, whatever the thing is, the skill that intimidates needn't be fixed necessarily.
Right. Yeah, this is the other thing too. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go for it. No, go for it. No, I was just going to say I'm going to use it as a GM. So I want to have an opponent with that, because I think willpower is often left
The wizard's got that.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Until you're befuddled or something.
Right.
Exactly.
I should have.
Interestingly enough, also to some extent because of the nature of the way magic is described, if you look back at the classic sword and sorcery tales, willpower kind of comes up a lot. I mean, that's the only reason that Conan doesn't always get instantly zapped. By the evil sorcerer who's against him. It's because of the sheer strength of his iron will, right? Right? Being a savage barbarian. So there's that. Willpower can be really important depending on the kind of game.
Yeah.
The thing that I was going to say was just that, this noodling that we just did about, is there another form of outmaneuver? This is a really nice illustration that, our goal as a game master should not be to necessarily memorize every rule. I mean, the book is for that, so you don't have to have a super control over it. But it's fluency. It's fluency. And fluency is not about learning how to say every sentence in a book. Fluency is about learning how to say a sentence that you've never said before, just knowing the rules of the language. And that's what Mythras is. It's a toolkit kind of game. You're supposed to become fluent in it by giving it enough study and practice, by playing and stuff. And then you're supposed to, as a game master, be able to, make these judgments on the fly with some level of comfort. And yeah, it's not always easy, but that's why we have things like this podcast and the Discord.
Yeah.
So you can brainstorm and you can have these ideas, but that's the goal. The rules are your toolkit. And if your player says, I want to spin and use my naginata to keep these guys from engaging me, then you're like, okay, how do we do this? And you come up with something, and hopefully it's reasonable on the spot. And then your players are all like, okay, cool. And maybe someone even writes it down so that if it comes up again later, you know what you did, right? So that's how it's supposed to go.
And I think that's why the Discord is so fantastic, because talking, even if you say in a channel, I've got this situation, there's plenty of people who have either had that situation and have developed some rules for it, or can show you how it fits into existing rules. So it's not, it's easy to apply and to actually have it in your game. Right. I don't have Mythic Rome, but there's something that you put about street mob trait.
Right. So on page 125 of Mythic Rome, it talks about the Roman citizen combat style, which has these weapons and the street mob trait, which is constructed kind of similarly to the shield wall trait. It says, permits a group of 3 or more fellow citizens to utilize the intimidate creature ability, which is on page 216 of Mythras, if you don't remember, but only before combat starts or when they have their opponents at a severe disadvantage.
Oh, nice.
So so you are the lone troublemaker, and the mob of Rome in the forum has decided that you're objectionable, and maybe they're going to start throwing stones at you or bum rush you to stab you with their pugios or whatever. And so, if combat hasn't started yet, or they think that they've got the drop on you, like maybe because there's 10 of them or 20 of them and one of you, they can use this street mob trait to use the intimidate creature ability. And if you fail your willpower roll, you're going to run away or not attack them. You're going to spend your time not attacking them, however it's phrased exactly. But so there's intimidation for you.
It seems somewhat, I'm not quite happy with street mob trait, because when I think of Romans, I don't think of street mobs, but I suppose it encompasses bashing shields and looking fierce, etc. That's why I assume.
This is not Roman legionaries. This is just, people at the market or at the bath or whatever, regular old citizens in togas and such. That's the idea.
Nice. Okay. We've been talking for a long time, which has been excellent, which means I don't need to write anything extra for this episode since it's going out very soon. So just to sum up, what would be your advice if you were a character? So you're playing a character and you're up against multiple foes or multiple opponents. What would you do as your character? Peter, we'll come to you first.
So the first thing is, like, I mean, it's technically role play, but it's not about acting or speaking as my character. It's like, but in the situation, where can I go? Like, how can I use the place I am to negate the advantages? After that, how can I use my skills to negate their advantages? Like, if I'm a agile character, then outmaneuver is definitely coming up. If I'm not, then, setting myself with my armor and my shield in passive ward. And then after that, it depends on how outnumbered you are. Like, if it's just one or two, then
stick at
a lot of but like, use all the defensive specials you can. Like if there's just two of them on you and you overextend one of them, there's just one of you next turn.
Yeah.
Right. So then you play it. Like we were talking about in the breakdowns of those fights, like right at the start when everyone's fresh and they're all at you, you have to defend. You're in a bad spot. As you get the measure of them, then you can start shifting to more of that being offense. And that's how I would play it. Defend until I either catch a failed attack that I can punish, or when you start to realize, actually these guys, they miss most of the time. Like, just I can take a chance here and there. Yeah.
Oh, that's something else we didn't touch on earlier is how skilled are the opponents too? If they are lousy at fighting and you are good at, fighting or defending, and you have a decent weapon or whatever, sometimes, and if you go first. So here's what I say. If I have an expert fighter and they're going to go first and they have 3 action points and they're not grossly outnumbered, if it's only 2-1 or 3-1, if my guy wins the successfully attacks and is going to do damage and everything, I would choose the I'm sorry. No. I'm also talking about if it's. I always love this. The do or die. The do or die combat style trait. If you have the do or die combat style trait, I would keep banging at them and spend all 3 action points in one go attacking them and just drop them.
Oh yeah. So take them out as quickly as you possibly can.
Yes, that's another valid approach in some
5
cases.
becomes 2 in 5 seconds. Like, are you gonna stick around for next round? I wouldn't.
And if they're rabble or whatever, seeing their friend get beat down like that right in the beginning might avoid the rest of the fight for you too.
Yeah.
It also depends on, what your goal is. Again, for combat, and we discussed this the last time we 3 were together. For combat, it's always about what is your goal. Combat is often a fail state in Mythras. This is not fooling around. Combat is sport. And if you don't need to be in the fight, maybe you just want to, withdraw and go out.
Yeah.
There may be a case where, there's no choice but to try to fight through. So that's different. But if you don't need to be in this fight and you're grossly outnumbered, then running away is a perfectly legitimate tactic.
Exactly.
And it's something we shouldn't forget, is all I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a very valid point. It's not D&D,
I was not naming names, but you're right.
I don't mind. I've done an episode on AI. So I don't mind naming it at all. Listen, thank you so much, both of you. I am definitely looking forward to using the rules and the combat specials to play multiple opponents against one character. I think it'll be absolutely excellent. I think next time we come together, we should talk about pack animals and attack and swarming, because that then focuses more on the GM and their how they can sort of like create multiple opponents in their campaign. So thank you very much. It has been enlightening from you both. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, inwils.
Thank you.
Always glad to.
How excellent was that? And thank you for sticking with it right the way to the end. Before I go, just quickly, I wanted to share that Peter sent me the solution for me swinging my chain around to keep my opponents at bay. The rules for this exist and can be found in Dan's excellent book of schemes. So do go and check it out. And for all the listeners who keep rightly asking me when season 2 will start, well, when I started the podcast, I noticed that some podcasts had seasons. So I added it to the introduction, not really knowing what it meant. I possibly should have changed it every year, but I think I will get to episode 100 and then switch to season 2. Only 18 more episodes to go before we move to season 2, which incidentally will be exactly the same as season 1. Excellent content hosted by me. So no escaping my dulcet tones. And that's it. Another episode of Mythras Matters completed. Thank you for listening and checking out all my RPG content. You can find the links to my YouTube channel, digital download shop, and the Dyson Design fanzine in the show notes. Thank you for all your support. So until next time, have a great month of gaming, and I will chat again to you all in July. Until then, I hope all your opposed rolls succeed and grant you with a well-deserved special. Thanks for listening, everyone. See ya. Bye. The content of this podcast is covered by the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, so please give appropriate credit if you are sharing or copying any part of this podcast. Thank you. I have to apologize for the state of my voice in this episode. It was an early morning recording session, so apologies. Thanks for listening.